top that one.
Well, yes, Mary Tyler Moore. Sit down, David. I have something to say.
Oh, Mary Tyler Moore.
Mary Tyler Moore.
Chris Rock.
How'd that go?
I mean, for a while he didn't acknowledge my existence, and that was fine.
I'll tell you who mine was.
Tell me.
I won't.
Ellen DeGeneres.
Was the worst?
I never had that. I was never a thirsty person.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
When you're crafting a joke, what is that sweet spot where this person in the audience is going to find it funny and this person in the audience is going to be offended?
Keep Will Smith's wife's name. Mouth!
Like, how do you know when to give a joke teeth and how much teeth to give a joke?
Yeah, it's intuitive. It's not like you don't break it, you don't dissect it that much. It's mostly is it how funny is it? Mm. And that's how I gauge whether or not, I found the sweet spot. Mm-hmm. Somebody's going to always be offended by something, so you can't please everybody, but what gets the biggest laugh?
What's going on?
It's hard to believe that this year is actually the 40th anniversary of Trading Places.
I can see! I have legs!
Which is a movie that obviously even at that time was touching on race in America. I guess 40 years later, specifically on the idea of like race within the context of comedy, how much that's changed since the days of Trading Places. Do you feel like it's a topic you can joke more about, joke less about, or has it really not changed that much over 4 decades?
I think the racial situation is worse than it's ever been. It's worse than it was back then. It's the racial stuff right now in this country is at a fever pitch, and I don't know. It's a lot of stuff you can't do that you were able to do back then. I was watching All in the Family, and some of the stuff that Archie Bunker says is it's like wow, that was on TV on Good Times and Sanford and Son. They say it's a lot of stuff you couldn't say and do back then.
There's a moment in the film where you guys are at a dinner table, and it reminded me of Nutty Professor.
Every time you turn it on, they got somebody in there talking about lose weight, get healthy, get in shape. Get everybody looking all anorexic, talking about that's healthy. I know what healthy is.
And there's a moment when you guys went to the barbershop, and it reminded me of Coming to America.
Pound for pound, Sugar Ray Robinson, the greatest fighter ever lived. Oh, come on, man. What about Joe Louis?
The Brown Bomber. Now that was a great boxer.
You damn right.
Do you ever walk around to a place and you're reminded of your own films? Is that a thing that happens at all?
In the barbershop scene in You People.
What's up with White Cuz? Am I White Cuz?
Well, I'm not.
I'm White Cuz for sure.
There was this funny stuff that was in the beginning of the barbershop scene right before me and Jonah came into the barbershop, and they cut it out because it was like the scene should have been like you should feel tension when you go in that barbershop, and you didn't want to compare it to the other barbershop scenes that I was in.
Oh, shit. What kind of chemical you got in there?
I feel like all of us can relate to this idea of just wanting someone to like us so badly.
So when you guys were starting out in this industry and you were starting to meet people that you idolize and you admire, who was the person you met that you just so badly wanted them to like you?
Oh boy.
That's a good question.
That is a good question. Ooh.
I never had that. I was never a thirsty person.
I mean, for me, it was Gary Shandling. When I'd watched the Larry Sanders Show, and I said to my agents over hiatus, I want to rest, but I want to do SNL and I want to do Sanders. And when I met Gary, we did a scene. They said, "Oh, Gary loves you," and I was like, "Oh, Gary loves me." And I went to the stage and I watched Gary do the talk show segment. And he walked by me like 4 or 5 times. Clearly, had never seen me. Knew nothing. Like, Gary did not love me at all. Or Gary did not know me. And then we did a scene in a hallway somewhere back there. And he said, "Cut." And he turned to me and he goes, "How old are you?"
No.
And I said, 33. And he said, "What took you so long?" It was really sweet.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah, and then I just melted. I was like my hero had said, You're all right. You're all right. You can do this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's so nice.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Do you have anyone in particular?
Top that one.
Well, yes, Mary Tyler Moore. Sit down, David. I have something to say.
Oh, Mary Tyler Moore.
Mary Tyler
Ooh.
Moore.
Oh.
I call your Shanley, and I raise you Mary Tyler Moore.
Yes, Mary Tyler Moore,
Nicely
and
done.
I did a photo shoot with her actually, and got to hang out with her, and of course, who doesn't, right? We all worship the woman, and the photographer asked if we would do a portrait where we put our hands together like this. And so, of course, I was like, yeah. And so we're going like this, and we're sort of, our heads are like this. And I became so overwhelmed that I was doing this with Mary Tyler Moore that I started to cry uncontrollably.
That's a wonderful story.
It's a wonderful story, but it was very awkward in the moment because I think she didn't really quite know what to do with it. And it was hard for me to articulate how I was feeling.
Right.
And I didn't, it was, so I was, and it was one of those moments where you're trying not to cry, which makes the crying even worse.
Yep.
So, but that's my Mary Tyler Moore story.
Those are killer stories.
Yeah.
By the way, those
They
are
really
fantastic.
are. I'm proud of us.
You don't be liking people.
No, I like everybody. I'm just like, but approval-wise, I don't know. I can't say that when I met Mariah Carey, she was lovely. I love her. I'm one of her biggest fans. And when I met her, it was just like, ah.
How did you keep it together?
I was at work, and at that time, I was a PA on a music video, so I had to keep it cute and on mute, but she was very lovely, and so she was someone that I just wanted to, like,
You can learn a lot about someone by how they treat PAs.
100%.
As someone who waited tables, I always say everyone should be in the service industry.
I was a PA and waited tables, and I honestly say, like, the people who are nice to those are the people, like, and I noticed the people who are, like, shitty to PAs and nice to the people, and they're my least favorite people.
You guys have horror stories?
Being a PA, of course. I don't even know if I can remember. I mean, but yeah, it was hard being a PA.
So who was the worst?
I can never say.
No, that attitude. I believe in you.
I'll tell you who mine was.
Tell me.
I won't.
Ellen DeGeneres.
Was the worst?
I like her. I think that she was my favorite. She would not make eye contact with me. You know what I'm saying? When at a certain point, and I was blown away. And then I got to meet her differently and she could not have been sweeter. But it was very. So I probably shouldn't say this, but there's your soundbite. But it was rough. You know what I'm saying? And I think that she is, probably has a lot of pressure and things like that. And
sure.
Probably, but that was my horror story.
Chris Rock.
How'd that go?
I mean, for a while he didn't acknowledge my existence, and that was fine.
Sure.
But I would say in the last year, he's acknowledged me as a human.
How'd you get in there?
That I just kept doing stand-up and getting better. That's one thing I really love about stand-up, and like, it's really a world of like, if you just keep doing it and like get good,
sure.
The right people. And he just started being like, hey, I see you and you're funny. And it was like, wow, it's happening.
I would be so terrified. I didn't even write this down, but just hearing your story, like the idea of being on stage, and I know like when you're up there, it's kind of like a faceless mass of people. But when you lock eyes with someone is that the craziest? And all of a sudden in your mind you go, oh shit, this person is in.
Oh, nerve-wracking, because especially in New York, you're doing the comedy, so it's such a small room.
Yeah.
And you're on stage, and then Chris just walks in, and you're like, all right. Here, I gotta be great now. You put this pressure on yourself to like kill it, and then you don't usually because now you're thinking dumb.
If I ever come see, can I like wave at you while you're up
there?
Yeah,
you definitely wave at me, for sure.
All right, honestly, this room and this pairing represents, like, I grew up in the 90s, so Seinfeld and X-Files are two of the reasons that I love pop culture. They're honestly two of the reasons that I have this job.
You want to cry now?
I kind of, and it's only going to make it worse. We put our hands together. I'm just sort of curious, when both of you are starring at two of the biggest shows at the same time, how aware are you of each other's shows?
We never met.
We never met.
I don't think
you guys
Julie's
don't have
ever
like
seen an X-File. I've seen Seinfeld.
I didn't. No offense. I didn't watch X-Files.
Offense taken.
Okay.
You're missing out.
I didn't.
That's
I was.
okay.
Yeah, I mean,
we didn't need you.
Okay.
We did all right.
No, you did fine.
You had me.
Yeah, we had this guy.
If you get the chance, Postmodern Prometheus will make you weep. Like,
interesting.
It's just
good call.
All right.
It's a good one.
Should I not have said that? Would it have been better if I had said, "Oh, I love the X-Files"?
I love the one with the aliens.
By the way,
I did love the one with the aliens.
By the way, I just said that I watched Seinfeld. I didn't say that I liked it.
This is going
so
great.
Don't worry.
This is going great.
Did you want to get up and walk? Should we get up and walk off?
Oh no! Let's keep going.
I will say this: I did love Seinfeld, and Jesus, I've gone back and I've looked at some clips of Julia sometimes, not just Julia, but and there's one. Tell me if you get sick of this shit, but there's one where you're trying to get the guy out of you're tired of being with him. He's like a lover. You're trying to get him to
packing?
the airport.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, it's just some of the best.
Oh, thank you.
Physical comedy. Can we? No, but it's. Look up that. Are you proud of that clip?
I actually would tweak that performance.
You
a little
would?
bit. I would.
You're crazy.
No, I would, but we don't have to go down that rabbit hole.
I got nothing but time. I mean,
No,
you're gonna
no.
put, that,
But I appreciate the
That's
compliment.
very interesting because it just shows you how tenacious she is.
Yeah. They've been giving me I just want you to know how much you guys mean to me, and seriously, this interview means a lot to me. And if you couldn't tell coming in, I was very excited. So thank you for being so kind to me, and thank you for being such a big part of my life.
Oh my
I really
God,
do
what a nice
appreciate
thing
you
to
guys.
say.
Thank you so
Really
much.
nice.
It was a
Thank
real pleasure.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching X-Files.
You're very welcome. Postmodern Prometheus is
Thank you.
Thank you. I love you
nice.
guys so much. Seriously, it was
Thank
such a pleasure.
I got to tell you, sir, I was raised on your work. I grew up on your work. I learned what funny was by watching you and your work. So I just want to say just thank you for continuing to just do incredible work and continuing to give us amazing stuff. I'm such a fan of yours, sir. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jake.
Hey, man. Good to see you, sir.
All right now. Same. Have a good one.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.